Russia. For over 300 years, the Russian Tsars ruled the largest empire on earth. They commanded armies of millions. They owned entire cities. They answered to no one. They believed God himself placed them on that throne. But on July 17, 1918, that belief meant nothing. A mother, a father, 5 children, led into a basement. They were told to sit for a photograph. They were never photographed. This is how God's chosen dynasty truly ended. Before the Tsars, Russia was chaos. Warring princes, Mongol shadows, no unified power. Then came Ivan. Ivan IV was crowned Tsar at just 17, the first ruler to ever officially claim that title. In his early years, Ivan was brilliant. He reformed the military. He expanded Russia's borders east toward Siberia. He built the famous St. Basil's Cathedral in Moscow. He was exactly what a young Tsar should be. Then his wife Anastasia died. Poison, many believed. And something inside Ivan broke permanently. He grew paranoid. He trusted no one. He saw enemies in every corner of his court. He created the Oprichnina, his own private army of black-robed enforcers. They rode black horses. They carried a dog's head and a broom as their symbol. Their job was to hunt traitors, real ones, imagined ones. It didn't matter. The city of Novgorod was massacred on his orders. 60,000 people, because Ivan suspected them of disloyalty. But nothing defines Ivan the Terrible more than one single moment. In 1581, during a violent argument, Ivan struck his own son and heir with his iron staff. The blow was fatal. His son died 3 days later. Ivan had destroyed his own dynasty with his own hands. He died 3 years later, leaving Russia with no strong heir and no clear future. After Ivan, Russia collapsed. 3 men claimed to be the true Tsar in 15 years, each one a fraud, each one backed by foreign armies. Famine swept the country. Poland invaded and occupied Moscow itself. Russia nearly ceased to exist as a nation. Then in 1613, the nobles and clergy gathered. They needed a Tsar, any Tsar. They chose a 16-year-old boy named Mikhail Romanov. He was young, he was weak, he was controllable, or so they thought. And so the Romanov dynasty began. It would last for 304 years. For decades, the Romanovs ruled quietly, consolidating, surviving, growing stronger. Then came Peter. Peter came to power at age 10. His childhood was defined by palace coups and assassination attempts. He watched men he trusted die violently. It made him hard, and it made him brilliant. By the time he was fully in control, Peter had one obsession. Russia was centuries behind Western Europe, and he intended to fix that personally. Peter stood 6'8", in an era when the average Russian man stood 5'6". He walked into any room and owned it instantly. In 1697, he did something no Tsar had ever done. He left Russia. Traveling to Western Europe in secret under a false name, he spent months in the Netherlands, working in shipyards as a common laborer with his own hands, alongside ordinary workers. He went to England. He studied factories, hospitals, museums. He wanted to understand how the modern world worked so he could drag Russia into it. When he returned, he moved fast. He ordered his nobles to shave their traditional beards. Those who refused were taxed. Traditional Russian clothing was banned at court. Western dress was mandatory. He didn't ask Russia to change, he forced it. Then he built a city from a swamp on the Baltic coast. He called it St. Petersburg. He declared it Russia's new capital, moved the entire government there, turned Russia's back on Moscow, and faced Europe. 50,000 workers died building that city. Peter considered it an acceptable cost. He modernized the army, built Russia's first navy, defeated Sweden, then the dominant military power in the north, and declared Russia an empire. Peter the Great died in 1725. He had transformed Russia from a medieval kingdom into a major European power in a single lifetime. He left no clear succession plan. The next 37 years saw 6 different rulers take the Russian throne, most of them placed there by palace coups. Then came Catherine, and she was not Russian. She was born Sophie of Anhalt-Zerbst, a minor German princess, brought to Russia at 14 to marry the heir to the throne. Her husband Peter III was unstable, cruel, and deeply unpopular. He insulted the Russian Orthodox Church. He humiliated his officers. He ruled for 6 months before his own guards turned against him. Catherine did not stop them. Some historians believe she encouraged them. Peter III was arrested, then died in custody. The circumstances remain unclear to this day. Catherine took the throne. The German princess who had spent years mastering Russian language, Russian culture, and Russian politics was now Empress of all Russia. She ruled for 34 years. She expanded Russia's borders further than any ruler since Ivan. She modernized education, reformed the legal system, corresponded with Voltaire and Diderot, positioned herself as Europe's most enlightened monarch. But enlightenment had its limits. When her serfs revolted under Pugachev in 1773, Catherine crushed the rebellion without mercy. Pugachev was brought to Moscow in an iron cage and publicly executed. Catherine the Great died in 1796. She had taken a throne that wasn't hers and made it entirely her own. After Catherine, her son Paul took power. He reversed almost everything she had built. He was assassinated by his own officers 4 years later. His son Alexander I defeated Napoleon. The Grande Armée marched into Russia in 1812. 6 months later, what remained of it marched back out. Russia had burned Moscow rather than surrender it. Napoleon never recovered. Alexander's brother Nicholas I took power in 1825. On the first day of his reign, army officers staged a revolt, the Decembrist Uprising, crushed within hours. Nicholas spent the next 30 years ensuring it would never happen again. His Russia was frozen, controlled, suffocating. Then came Alexander II, the Tsar Liberator. In 1861, he freed Russia's serfs, 23 million people. He reformed the courts, the military, local government. He was the most progressive Tsar Russia had ever seen. In 1881, he was assassinated. A bomb thrown beneath his carriage on a St. Petersburg street. He survived the first explosion. He stepped out to check on the wounded. A second bomb was thrown directly at him. Alexander II died 2 hours later. His reforms died with him. His son, Alexander III, reversed every liberal policy immediately. He believed his father's openness had gotten him killed. He was probably right. Russia turned inward again. Darker, more repressive, more paranoid. Alexander III died in 1894. His son Nicholas had not expected to inherit so soon. He was not ready. Nicholas II was by all accounts a gentleman, a devoted father, a loving husband. He was completely unsuited to be Tsar of Russia. He wrote in his diary on the day his father died, "What is going to happen to me, to all of Russia? I am not prepared to be a Tsar. I never wanted to become one." He meant every word. His wife Alexandra became increasingly isolated from Russian reality. When their son Alexei was born with hemophilia, she turned to mysticism for answers. That search led her to Rasputin, Grigory Rasputin, a Siberian peasant mystic who somehow appeared to ease young Alexei's suffering. Alexandra trusted him completely. Nicholas tolerated him. The Russian court was horrified by him. Rasputin whispered in the empress's ear. Ministers were appointed and dismissed based on his advice. Russia was effectively being influenced by an illiterate peasant while the world went to war. In 1914, that war arrived. Russia mobilized, suffered catastrophic losses. Millions of soldiers died badly equipped, badly led, badly fed. By 1917, Russia was breaking. Food shortages in the cities, mutinies at the front, protests in the streets of Petrograd. Nicholas abdicated in March 1917. He signed away 300 years of Romanov power in a railway carriage, alone, with no ceremony. The Bolsheviks took power in October. Nicholas and his family were arrested, moved from location to location as the Civil War spread. In July 1918, they arrived in Yekaterinburg, a merchant's house, boarded up windows, armed guards. On the night of July 16th, they were woken, told to dress, told they were being moved for their safety, led downstairs into the basement. 11 men entered the room behind them. The family was told to sit for a photograph. They arranged themselves. They waited. They were never photographed. 304 years, 16 Tsars, the largest empire the world had ever seen. It didn't fall to a foreign army. It didn't fall to a rival dynasty. It fell to its own people, in a basement, on a Tuesday night in July. History doesn't warn you when an empire is ending. It just ends. And somewhere in that ending is a question every empire eventually has to answer. When the people stop believing in you, what exactly are you Tsar of? But the Romanovs weren't the first empire to learn this, and they won't be the last. If you want to see how other empires rose and fell, these stories are next.